Okay, let's start the chapter. So chapter 8. And in this chapter, we will be talking about motivation and empowerment. Okay. So in this chapter, we will talk about our learning objective in this chapter is to recognize and apply difference between intrinsic and extrinsic rewards. Appropriately tap into the motivation that induce people to take action to accomplish important goals. Motivate others by meeting higher level needs. We're also gonna try to we'll learn about how to apply the needs-based theories of motivation and understand how the concept of equity applies to motivation. We will describe the psychological and the structural element of empowerment and how empowerment contributes to motivation. And we will try to apply the understanding how to apply the job characteristics model to enrich the jobs and identify factors that play a role in the employee engagement and use engagement to meet the higher level of needs and build a thriving workforce by giving people a sense of making a progress toward goals. But in the first stage, we want to know what's a motivation. In the motivation, it's the force either internal or external to a person that arouse enthusiasms and persistence to pursue certain course of action. So something internal or external help you to pursue certain course of action. Employee motivation affects the productivities. And part of the leader's job is to channel followers' motivation toward the accomplishment of organization visions and goals. And usually, good leaders use motivation theory to satisfy the followers' needs and encourage high work performance. But there is a simple model of motivation. So all of us have needs. So it starts with a need, and a need is a created desire to fulfill it because of the need. And that could be a money, friendship, recognition, achievement, these things. These are some needs within the human. And then there is a behavior which is result into, which is defined as a behavior as a result into action to fulfill the need. So you have need and you start behaving in a certain way to fulfill that need. And then there is a reward, which is satisfy the needs, whether this reward is intrinsic or extrinsic reward. And then the reward inform the person. Feedback, there is a feedback right away, the word informs person whether behavior was appropriate and should be used again. The definition for intrinsic rewards is the internal satisfaction a person receives in the process of performing a particular action. The extrinsic reward is a reward usually given by your supervisor, by manager, such as pay increase, and promotions. But the need of people, and there is two ways of approaching it. There is a way that, like the conventional management, which is they target the lower need, and there is what you call the carrot and stick, extrinsic. Um, it usually controls people, and people will put an adequate effort there. But in this, the leadership style, it focuses on the higher needs, and it gives empowerment for which is an intrinsic reward, and get the employee engagement. And usually, you end up with the best effort of uh, people who got involved in this, engaged in it. So if we look at the four categories of motives, first of all, we need to look at whether is the extrinsic or intrinsic. And in both cases, in which field, whether it's a pleasure, growth, or pain and fear. And no need to, we'll go through this. And in the intrinsic positive approach, rewards such as pay, raise, bonuses, and praise. We'll talk about each one. So needs-based theory of motivation, there is a three type of theories, which is a hierarchies of needs theory, two-factor theories, and acquired need theory. In the hierarchy of need theory, Maslow's theory is very much known. You probably took this in the HR or yes, in HR or psychology, organizational psychology. Is the Maslow's theory proposes that humans are motivated by multiple needs, and those needs exist in a hierarchical order. So one, it would not, the new need does not come in unless the first need is satisfied. What does that mean if you look at this? So there is a psychological needs, which is the heat, air, base, salary. And then once this is satisfied, which is the lower need, then the safety need comes in, like a safe work, fringe benefit, and job security. And we will talk about each one of them separately. And then you have what you call the two factors theory, which is there is two factors, which is the hygiene factors and the motivators. And the hygiene factor is about the first dimension of the two-factor theory, and it's involved in the working conditions, the pay, companies' policies, and interpersonal relation. And that's called the hygiene factors. And then you have the motivator factors, which is involve the job satisfaction and meeting the higher levels need, such as achievement, recognition, and opportunity for growth. And we will discuss this because there is two parts of it, which is what do you call motivators and the hygiene factors, which they are separated from each other. Now, acquired need theory is proposed that certain type of needs, such as achievement, affiliation, power, are acquired during individuals' lifetime. And in the acquired theory, it says there is a need for achievement, there is a need for affiliation, and there is a need for power. And the need for achievement is about the desire to accomplish something difficult. attain a high standard of success, master a complex task, and surpass the others. That's the need for achievement. In the field of affiliation, the desire to form a close personal relationships and also avoid the conflict and establish a warm friendship. And there is what you call the need for power, which is desire to influence or control others, be responsible for others, and have authority over others. So they have a three different type. It's like a need for achievement, need for affiliation, and a need for power. There is other motivation theories like the reinforcement theory, and that's one of the old theories, the reinforcement, the expectancies theories, and the equity theory. And in the reinforcement theory is a motivational theory that looks at the relationship between the behavior and its consequences by changing or modifying followers on the job behavior through the appropriate use of immediate rewards or punishment. I think it started a long time ago, I think through Pavlov. It was established by Pavlov with the experiment with dogs. And the reinforcement perspective on motivation is what you call will influence the behavior modifications. So the behavior modification, it's about set of techniques by which reinforcement theory is used to modify the behavior. The law of effect says that and states that the positive reinforcement behavior tend to be repeated. So the more positive reinforcement it gets repeated, and the behavior that is not reinforced tend to be not repeated. And then you have the reinforcement, which comes in and says anything that causes certain behavior to be repeated or inhibited or not and stop. And then you have what you call the positive reinforcement is the administration of the pleasant and reward consequences following a behavior. Then you have what you call the negative reinforcement, which is withdrawal of unpleasant consequences once a behavior is improved. And then you have what you call a punishment, which is imposition of unpleasant outcome of an employee following undesirable behavior. And then the extensions, which is withdrawal of a positive reward, meaning that the behavior is no longer reinforced and hence is likely to occur in the future. So shaping behavior with reinforcement, this situation, as we look at it here, we can explain it one by one. A nice graph. The other theory is called expectancy theory, which is a theory that suggests that motivation depends on individual mental expectations about their ability to perform tasks and receive a desired reward. So whether they believe that they can perform or not perform, and if they believe that, whether they're going to get the desired rewards or not. Then you have what you call equity theory, a theory that proposed that people are motivated to seek social equity in the reward they receive for performance, equities and equalities. And empowerment, which is you delegate some kind of jobs and give them reason for them to make a decision, but in general means power sharing, the delegation of power or authority to subordinate in the organization. So there is psychological model of empowerment. There's a certain way of doing empowerment. And it's before empowering employees, these needed to be done, which is employees receive information about the company performance. Employees receive knowledge and skills to contribute to company's goal. So becomes a competent. Employees have the power to make a substantive decision. And then employees understand the meaning and the impact of their job, and employees are rewarded based on the company performance. And this is the psychological model of empowerment of employees. Now, we know what's an empowerment, but how are we going to design a job that gives to the employees an empowerment, which is comes in a job design first thing, job design itself, which is structuring the job in a way that meet the higher level needs and increase the motivation toward the accomplishment of goal. We saw in the first slide, a leadership looks at the higher level needs. So you need to design the job in a way meets the higher level need. Now, the job characteristics models, it's a model of a job design that consider the core job dimension of a skills, varieties, task identities, task significance, autonomy, and feedback to enrich the job and increase their motivation. Now it comes in how we're going to do the job enrichment is a motivational approach that incorporate the high level motivators into the work, such as you give them more, including job responsibilities, more job responsibility, recognition of the opportunity for the growth. They realize that, learning and achievement. Now, once we did the job design, there is a ways to increase the job enrichment. So here we did a job empowerment. Here we do a job enrichment. And in the job enrichment, what we need to do is really increase the skills varieties. And that's a pretty challenging thing for a simple task. Structure jobs so that an employee can perform a complete task from the beginning to the end to have a good idea and feels that he's producing. Third, incorporate task significance into the job. Give the people autonomy to choose how and when to perform a specific task, and to the extent possible, design the job to provide the feedback and let the employees see the outcome of their efforts. The empowerment application is in its dimensions used to classify the empowerment methods, how we see how we can classify this empowerment is we look at it at the extent to which employees are involved in the defining and desired outcome, and the extent to which they participate in determining how to achieve those outcomes. These are two things, two applications that we need to define when we are designing and giving somebody a job. It's the extent to which that employee is involved in defining the desired outcome, and the extent that employee in determining how to achieve those outcomes. Engagement and getting employees engaged. Engagement means when people enjoy their job and are satisfied with their work condition, contribute to meeting team and organizational goals, and feel a sense of belonging and commitment to the organization. So that's it. Thank you.